Small allocation, and when you look at an $80 million budget, it is a small allocation of funds. You're choosing to be a change agent and go forward with some things that I believe, in looking at Coffeyville and the work that I've been doing here the last 8 months, can benefit from. When I presented to you early on, you asked me some questions around why. And I just like to review very, very quickly that I went through immense amounts of research. And one of the things that the people told you in your study in 2013 that they wanted was overall quality of streets and cities, and that's why I invested in 9th Street. I was going to buy Grandma's house, but I bought more property because of what you did. The other two items that the citizens told you that was utmost importance to them was economic development and community development. This particular project does both. Now, if you look at the best practices and the kinds of things that companies or small cities, 10, 15,000, have done throughout the U.S., rural communities, you see some golden threads. And again, I'm not going to belabor these. I could talk for a long time. But I'm struck by this because I'm in the streets working with people, as well as working at the executive level, at all levels in the community. And I am really just here to try to jumpstart something. The things that are golden threads throughout all of the research: number one, involve committed citizens who are willing to take action and serve. We have that. We need innovation and committed city leadership who are taking reasonable risks. Hey, you know what? $5,000 is a risk. I realize that because you've never done it before. And you're afraid everybody's going to come knocking at your door asking for money. It's not acceptable to fund everything, but it's also not acceptable to just have a policy that says, no, we don't fund events. Because you want to change, you want to go forward, you want to do things differently. We're offering you something with a group of people who want to put a whole day together to bring folks in, something that helps Coffeyville move forward. It's big, and we need help, and we need your support, both in-kind services and money. One of the other things that if you go back just briefly, I won't go back to the slide, but I was struck in the last 8 months at how much Coffeyville has. People are depressed sometimes, they think we're not doing enough, but we have so much in place in terms of being attractive to somebody like me to come and invest. And I'm a hometown girl. I really never left Coffeyville, just my body left Coffeyville. So in my personal research, I was very optimistic about all the kinds of things that I saw, and I'm still optimistic. And so therefore, I am responding to people who are asking me to do something that's really, really energizing and important. And I am betting on you. I don't need this at 71 years of age. I don't need to be doing this kind of stuff. I am really trying to be a catalyst to help the city because I love this place and I want to come back here and live. It started out as a street run and a celebration. It's much more than that. And it's more than that because we are responding to what people say they want. Yeah, it's going to be a color blaze. It's a work of art as people run through the 5K walk run. But then we have a day in LaVille. We've got amazing things that can happen, including a very high-level juried art show that people want to come to, people want to demonstrate and show their art in. We have artist workshops and classes for children. We're looking at demonstrations from old world artisans, very much like they do with the Laura Ingalls days, but more than that, in Independence. And again, I won't do a public reading of the PowerPoint. You can see that. I just want you to know this is a big deal. This can be a big deal. And you know what? Wouldn't it be a terrific problem to have as commissioners and as a city for a dozen people like me to come forward and ask for $5 grand? And to have a dozen events like this throughout the year? But you have to be selective, I understand that. So, the financial structure. It's volunteer based. Somehow it all got all mixed up with who's going to get money or whatever, so I'm trying to straighten that out. It's volunteer based except for the food, beverage, services, and the art classes. We're going to offer sponsorships. We're still figuring that out. There'll be fees for participation in the Color Blaze, the art and craft shows, the evening street celebration with live music. There'll be no charge for that. It'll be open. And there'll be opportunities, if appropriate, and if the Midland Board wants, for us to try to raise funds for the Midland Theater. So, I came here because you, as commissioners and as a city, did some great things with the research and the input that you got from the citizens. The first was changing the streets, changing the gutters and the sidewalks. I'm here because of that and investing a lot. Come on, let's make a decision. Let's promote community development and support economic development and be change agents and risk takers. So that's why I'm asking for the money and services in kind. I'm asking you to go forward and not look back and say, we don't do that, we've never done it, we can't do it. That's been part of the problem in Coffeyville. You don't have somebody like me come along very often, and I'm willing to take a risk if you are, but only if you are. So, thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Who wants to go first?
Get started, Jim.
Okay, sure, Rick. I guess it's appropriate to let somebody come up and talk now, so we've been arguing about it. Go ahead, Rick.
I'm Rick Thompson, 3775 C County Road, 1675 Coffeyville. Businessman, business owner in Coffeyville. I'd like to say I really appreciate Peggy and what she's trying to do. Guys, we've got to do something. We've got to start thinking outside the box. Look at our community. Okay, look at where we have. I can tell you that when I got out of college, we had over 20,000 people in Coffeyville in the mid-'70s. You couldn't buy a home in Coffeyville, and it was full. Today, we're at less than half of that. We don't have anything for young people to do. We're continuing to decline. I've been involved in economic development for 40 plus years in Montgomery County, and I can tell you that we have not solved the problem. We can bring all the companies here. We had Amazon, and we're still in decline. And the numbers are there. They're factual. When we had American Insulated Wire, we continued to decline. Why, if we had all these jobs, why wouldn't you think that we would grow? We're not. We're not now. We're going to continue to decline unless we start thinking outside the box, unless we start doing something different. Okay? How much money did we spend on 4th of July parties for years? You know, I mean, after Leroy Allsup and after we built the stadium, I hate that word. After we keep talking about the stadium and the money that we spent on that 4th of July and those weekends, okay? Now, $5,000, give me a break, okay? We need to think outside the box, okay? The Midland Theater, we need to be thinking ahead. We need to be looking at a vision for Coffeyville. How can we bring young people here? The only way we're going to break this cycle is to bring people here. Maybe that means housing. That's what she's trying to do. Maybe that means changing our views of Coffeyville. You know, maybe a total downtown revitalization. We need the Midland Theater. We need places where people can bring their kids and go to a movie, even if it's a daytime movie. We need a convention center, someplace where we can bring companies in for meetings. You know, bring events in. I'm not a speaker, guys, but I'm going to tell you that I have spent my life in this town. Okay, and I have, you know, I've got my family here. I've got my kids here. Okay, they want to be involved. They are involved. Okay, a lot of us that were raised in this town. Okay, we have those memories of the old Midland Theater, and I mean, you know, whether you had your first date there, you know, whatever. I think people would support financing the renovation through the tax, okay? But what that's going to mean is if we do a sales tax, that means that we're at our limit or pretty close to our limit. That means that the taxing entities are all of our taxing entities are going to have to help. They're going to have to participate, because what that means is that they're going to have to give up something. But guys, and I supported the police and fire station. I supported this on the Blue Ribbon Committee. I've had a lot of pot shots taken at me over that. But the bottom line is that I believe that we need those things. We need security. We need fire protection. We need to be able to hire good policemen and firemen You know, we need these things. But at the same time, we've also got to look at the future of our town, because those things are not gonna bring people to live here. The fire station, the city hall, the electric utility, they're not gonna bring them. And if we don't bring them, then one day we won't be able to pay for those things that we're spending money on today, because we won't have those sales tax dollars. The hospital will not have people to, you know, they won't have patients. The college won't have students, and if the college does have, so they bring in students from out of town. But do you think those kids that are gonna come here one day are gonna wanna come here if there is nothing to do, and if the town's dead? Say we're 4,000 or 5,000 people, okay? And if you think that can't happen, it can happen, guys. We're headed that direction now. We have got to change. What I'm gonna tell you is, think outside the box. We've got to start thinking outside the box. That's what this lady is saying, is think outside the box. And if we don't think outside the box, we're going to continue to decline until it's too late, until you can't mass enough money or put it together to do anything. Now, I'm just a concerned citizen that's been here all my life, and I've got kids and I've got grandkids in this community. And I'm concerned about the future of our community. So I would tell you to buck the trend. Buck the trend.
When you're done.
I'm done.
Thank you, Rick. I think everybody on this panel supports Peggy and what she's doing. As a business person, would you be willing to put some money in it?
I would.
Well, I already told Peggy I would too. And I feel that this is a private deal. I was getting ready to say something, you came up here and you're here, and I'm glad you're here to talk to about it, have a conversation. I feel like this is this is what I was getting ready to say before you came up. I think this is a private event. We've spent, I don't know how many million working on this, what we're doing. And I told Peggy last week, Rick, you weren't here. And I said we're spending, you know, I don't know what the number is. It's 15 million or whatever the number is. I'm going to ask for that one of these days in writing. But to put in our new fire and police department and rebuild this building, Perkins building, the library, we got Midland Theater, we've got Boys and Girls Club, everything. And our town really is pretty tight on all that right now. And I think we need to put, just like the firework deal, I think we need to support that as business people, and anybody can put money in it, of course. And that's what we need to do. And that's, I've had 5 people express they don't put money in that. One today at the bank. And I haven't had anybody, I shouldn't have anybody. I had one person that was supporting it that did say that at the very start. But I just think as representatives of the citizens, each one of us has to vote our conscience, and we're representing those people. And with the money we spend, if we had money in the bank, so to speak, I'd be all for it. But I just think we're too tight right now.
Jim,
that's what I think.
it's the same group of people that say no to everything. And we gotta start saying yes. We gotta start making a change. I'm telling you.
We said yes to a new fire and police department and a tax, and we said yes to a tax for our hospital, and people are about taxed out.
I don't disagree.
That's the problem. It's not that we don't want to help Peggy. It's a great deal. But if you can't afford a Cadillac, you don't buy a Cadillac. And I feel like, as a conservative, I feel like we're just too tight. And I'm willing to put my own money in it, okay, to back that up. I'll use that platform, but that's where we're at on it, and I'll let the other ones talk. There's been a lot of talk about it, and I'm with Kendall this time, okay? He's looking at the numbers, and, you know, I'm ready to hear somebody else talk. But I do want to thank Peggy. She's a breath of fresh air for our community. How many people will put that kind of money in a project? It's not going to make her any money. She's going to lose money on the deal. Everybody knows it, okay? But she's putting her money in it anyway. And I've been over there to look at it several times. It's, you know, putting money in these old houses and stuff is a, you know, like Byron Bowles will tell you, it's a sinkhole. But that's what some people do, and I praise her for it. but our town is really tight right now. Go ahead, let's start on the end. Justin, you support it, I know, but if you guys just, real quick, let's say something,
I'll wait my turn.
okay?
You know, I'm in agreement with Mr. Thompson. I think we need to do something. I don't know if it's 500,000. I'd like to at least go 25.
5,000.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, I spoke.
That's a big chunk of change. Oh, health party.
Maybe what you ought to do is honestly, use
2,500
it
is what I'm
as
saying.
matching up to a certain, if she said 5,000, use 5,000 as a match. If she raises 2,500, then she gets 2,500. Okay, I mean, it's just a suggestion.
I'm saying I want to do our,
I mean, that way it shows
Our part.
support from our community and from the city, okay? And I think that the city has to, you know, at a point, be involved in that, in anything that happens within the city. I do appreciate Kendall's involvement as far as being able to, you know, we're gonna do in-kind like work, and I think that's great too, but I think that, you know, all these events in Coffeyville need to have some funding. I mean, Jimmy, how would you finance and fund, and you and I have had this discussion, how would you finance and fund the renovation of the Midland Theater?
Well, it's a tough one.
How would you do the
No,
Alamo Center?
it-
They just barely got their bills paid recently. I mean, how would you fund that stuff?
First question, I have never got a straight answer. On a website the other day, I got one answer. Who owns the Midland Theater?
That's a good
I
question.
was
Who
asked
does
that,
own it?
I was actually asked that tonight.
Okay.
According to the Kansas State Historical Registry, the city of Coffeyville owns it.
Well, it was turned over. It was actually donated, my understanding, wasn't it, Paul? It was donated to the city of Coffeyville, and the city of Coffeyville
Turned it over to the Midland Foundation.
to the
So
Midland Foundation.
what happened if the Midland Foundation says, we can't do it?
I think what I provided to you, I think it reverts back to us.
So essentially, it's ours. We can say it's theirs, but we all know in the end, it's ours.
Guys, you know how they've been struggling. I mean, they've just been barely scraping by trying to pay bills. And it's such a shame. I mean, you know, it's a true, it is a true asset to the city of Coffeyville. And those kind of things are the things that are gonna bring people in here to wanna live here. And they're not gonna come here for the city hall. Most people don't even know what a city hall that lived here all their life, you know. I mean, people aren't gonna come here. It does help to see a new facility for police and fire on 11th Street. That's positive, okay, that shows positive growth. But they're not gonna come here and live here because of that. They might appreciate the fact that they have the security and the safety, okay? They're not gonna come here because we got a new power plant, okay? And I support the power plant. I support all these projects because it shows progressiveness. But guys, when are we gonna start putting money back into things that are actually gonna bring young families here to wanna live?
Well,
When are we gonna do that?
We've got the fireworks deal, there's about $50,000 going into that thing,
Not
private
from-
money and.
Not from us.
Right.
Not from
Not
city.
from us, right. It's something to do, I'm just saying.
No, I know that. What I'm
No.
saying is, when are we, look at Tulsa, Vision 2020 in Tulsa. Look what they did. And look what they, you know, they put committees together and they put a plan together that is gonna go out for decades, you know, to be able to change and add those things that are gonna bring people, make people wanna live here. And they're working, guys. Go down there, go through Tulsa, that's growing. So, what do we have to do? I'm just saying,
What do we have to do
what do we have to do to get there?
on this
It's gonna
project?
take a 1 cent a citywide sales tax to make something like that to go, and I think we're probably at the limit on it now, okay? You can't do any more. The only way you're gonna do that is with all the taxing entities supporting it. That's what I'm saying.
When was the stadium built? 99, 2000?
99, they dedicated it in 2000.
So,
And we're spending 50 grand a year on it, or whatever the number is, and
You're spending 900,000 on it last year.
900,000.
So-
okay.
But that doesn't.
50,000 a month.
No,
It's-
that's incorrect. You're spending 900,000 on the bond that pays the stadium, a wastewater, a water project, and transmission lines, if I'm correct. Am I correct? Those three items are all rolled into that one payment.
And that, yeah, we've talked about it in budget, and that runs out when? When does that end? How much, how many?
2021, I believe.
So it's only 4 years away, we're gonna have a little money there coming in.
2020,
Let my
2021.
ramblings
I
get
can,
out
I
here.
can almost tell you right now that the city staff's probably already got that included in another budget to pay off
When-
some of this that we've got.
Those are being paid by electric revenues, not by any of the sales tax.
That's correct.
So 1980, what, did Memorial Hall burn down?
1980.
1980?
1980.
So I can remember being a little kid and hearing old timers, they're younger than me now, but talking about cities promised to rebuild it. We ain't got no Memorial Hall. 2007, we had a flood, knocked down Floral Hall, promised to rebuild it. 10 years later, we don't have a Floral Hall. We built the stadium and the golf course, which depends on which side of the fence you was on, was very popular or unpopular. It was promised to replace that little amphitheater stadium that was down there in the hole. Don't have that. This building covers all three of those. It's just, it's clearly gonna be a burden that the city at some point is gonna face, because I've heard the math. I don't know that private citizens can do it. I don't think the city should do it completely. You know, like this group of people shouldn't be writing giant checks. But as leaders of the community, I think it's time to start leading. The last 30 years, we've been waiting and waiting and waiting. Hell, I'm still waiting. And 20,000 people to 9,000 something.
We're
That plan has worked.
Guys,
great.
we're gonna continue to decline. There is nothing, you look at the statistics, you don't have a year that it's popped up. You don't. So, look at the numbers are there, the numbers don't lie. Bottom line to it is, you can spend all the money on every other project in the world. If you don't start spending some money on these things, it is going to continue to decline until they can't even pay for these things.
So
Hey.
let's get back on track, because we've kind of veered off in a direction. So
Thank you,
the
guys.
thank you very much for your time.
Don't go too far, Rick. Hey, Peggy, and Rick and whoever, there's been discussion about maybe going to 2,500 or something, and that hadn't been talked about. I mean, what if we got, you know, we really want to help with this thing, but there's a lot of no, okay? And if someone else wants to jump in, but I'm wondering if we can get private business a match up to 2,500 or something.
I would disagree on a lot of no. What I've found out over the last week is those that are opposed to this have gone to people that aren't opposed to it. Or, does that make any sense? They haven't come to me. Have they come to you? So, I mean, it's clear I'm in favor of it. They haven't come to me.
Right.
I've went out and asked for information. I haven't got any of these resounding no's that I hear about. I know there's some people out there spreading some misinformation that don't know what they're talking about, but, you know, that's their burden to figure out how to do their job properly. But they haven't come to me. Mr. Weed?
Okay.
Charles Weed, 207 West New. I think the bottom line on this is, does the city want good publicity or bad publicity? There's a whole lot of bad publicity out there, because bad publicity is cheap.
Real cheap.
And there's a lot of people that they stoke their egos by spreading lies and rumors and all the other stuff. Now, what we need is more good publicity. And that's what this project is pushing. Now, even as, you know, you say, the real dollars aren't there, but the support in kind from the city services can be. We don't give her $5,000, but we cover the porta potties and the cleanup,
That's money, sir.
yeah. The thing about it is you give somebody $5,000, you don't know where it's going.
I think there's probably answers to that if we was to ask her.
Yeah, but they get slippery. But if that's put in, in goods and services, you know where your dollar went. And so, we may not make it a cash donation for this, But if we can do a guarantee of services, I think it would form the same function. You know, she says, well, if I don't have this over my head, then I can afford that. You know, it doesn't have to be a check, but give her something that she can support what this project's gonna be, where she's gonna need it the most at the end of the line, the day it happens. So let's aim for the support going there, you know.
Thank you, Charlie.
So, as I was looking through here on the special events, we basically support 8 special events through the year. The city does, in one fashion or another, whether it's we give money for the summer celebration, and the other events we support in other forms or fashions through our employees, or we wipe some rental fees clean, you know, things like that. So we work with them. So on each of these 8 events, what's the cost to the city of Coffeyville? Do we know that? Do we have a monetary amount that we can apply to some of these? I know that's a rough call, but I know a lot of these take extra police officers, extra firemen, you know, like some of them, I see the street sweeper. So this Coffeyville's not getting off free of charge on a lot of this stuff.
No. The only thing that I could tell you a dollar amount to right now is just because overtime on Coffeyville street drags for the fire department was $1,200.
For an event that lasted how many hours? 8 hours, 12 hours? Okay. So if the commission said, we'll do $2,500 and we'll match whatever she could give, that gets her to her $5,000 that they're requesting. Just throwing this out there, not putting any words in anyone's mouth. How will we pay for it? How does that fit in? Because that's not budgeted right now.
No.
How are we going to pay for it?
You could easily argue this is economic development, because what she is trying to do is keep the ball rolling with what she has going on.
Well, and my recommendation would be that it would come out of the economic development, and that's what the Fund 180 is.
Right.
And it would require us just to look to see what we didn't fund or what kind of play we would have with those numbers.
That's what I have. Yes, Mr. Faulkner.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Jim Faulkner, 1014 West 3rd. Just a comment, should you decide to fund the project, you're aware of what my feelings are, but there was a fund that was established several years ago. The commission passed an ordinance, and it dealt, at that point, it was called a strategic reserve. I don't know how much is left in that. It was the CVR tax money that came back to the city. I know most of it was spent, but some of it's being repaid. I know utilities has been repaying the $800,000 that was loaned to the city to get a head start on the street work. So I don't know how much is there, but this would fit the criteria for that particular fund, in that it would be for specific one-time projects, not a recurring issue, and it would require a vote of the commission. So just as a suggestion,
Yep.
I offer that. Don't know if there's any money left in that fund, but that's a source.
Thank you. Other questions from the commission?
I have a question. Actually, I got a lot of questions and some comments. I think I knew this was gonna be a hot topic. What prevents, and I know that we select things that we support, but my question is this, is this celebration gonna ask for other services from the city other than this monetary donation? Are they gonna require security? Are they gonna require
Signs.
blocking off the streets? Are they gonna require these other things that these other celebrations like Dalton Defenders, Interstate Fair and Rodeo, Summer Celebration, are they going to require or need assistance from the city for these other things to put on this celebration? And the reason I ask that is that because if we're going to support this celebration with money, plus all these other services that we provide to the other celebrations throughout the town that I mentioned earlier, like Dalton Defenders, what prevents these other celebration people coming to the city and asking for monetary donations to their celebration? Because I think that one could make a significant argument that the Interstate Fair and Rodeo has much more economic impact on the city of Coffeyville than perhaps this celebration will.
Are you asking that rhetorically, or would you like it, are you hoping for an
I'd like to
answer?
have an answer. Are we gonna need to provide other type of services to support this celebration, such as those items that I mentioned earlier?
I have not, I mean, that would be a question to ask.
We talked
Okay.
about that, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, but I think again, what I said in my little talk was that, you know, the acceptable answer is not just no, we don't do this. The acceptable thing is we have a criteria checklist, and if we're looking at innovation and moving forward, then part of that checklist might be new types of events that don't have a basis of financing and have a history for that event financing and marketing. You know, I don't have a check, but I think we need to do that, not just with this event, but as a city. But this isn't Peggy Steele's event. This is Old Coffeyville's event. I'm just a catalyst, you know, so I think we need to think about it that way. But absolutely.
Well, then I look at, and of course, here we go with the probably the self-serving aspect of myself. But earlier, we looked at a funding application from the police department wanting alcohol liquor funds for the total of almost $4,000 for equipment to combat illegal drug use in our community. Obviously, we didn't fund that because it didn't meet the criteria for the statute. But I have an issue of, are we going to give $5,000 to a celebration, but not fund a basic service that the police department should provide?
Well, again, my recommendation was not to spend the $5,000.
Well, I
just
guess I'm asking
and-
my commissioners this.
But, you know,
Make a
if,
valid point.
I mean, if.
but I guess I want to clear that up real quick. If the police department is in need of equipment, we're going to make certain that they have the equipment that's up to date and current, and going to allow them to do the job to the best of their abilities. We're not hoping to nickel and dime any department, you know, as critical as that. So I guess I'd like to at least make that clear. But as far as your other question, what is to prevent other festivals from coming and asking for money? I would say nothing. And that really is the basis of me saying I don't think we should fund it, because that they will continue to come. And if you want them to come and you make the decision every time, we can operate that way. I don't have an issue doing that. So.
I think it's gonna be a great thing. I'd like to see some private entities step up too. And I think Jim has mentioned that, Mr. Thompson has mentioned that. As far as I'm concerned at this particular point, I'm willing to we've taken a lot of risk in the last 4 years, and I'm willing to take a risk on this. And my position is I will go have funding, a match grant.
Mr. Victory?
Gary Victory, 513 West 4th Street. We are looking at this at the wrong direction, okay? First of all, Still is going on the right direction. It saddens me that we have to have a public issue with this when we have an individual that's from our city that is trying to rebuild our city from outside the commission, the commerce, the city, period. You guys are the spearhead of our community. She's come along and said, okay, I love this city. I'm going to help revitalize this city. $5,000, is that needed? That's up to y'all, right? But I support her 100%. And if she needs my assistance on anything, I carry anything, I don't have the money to donate to her, but I'll do whatever it takes to help her. I think it is a good idea to meet her halfway. You know, I think maybe you don't decide on it tonight and see what private citizens can come up with, and then based on that, then see what you can do.
I like that idea.
But I am in support of her because she is trying to do what is needed. We have all these companies that have left us. I know of several that have come here because of certain issues that we cannot resolve, that have not come here because they see the decline in our community. We have young people, very intelligent young people that work for our hospital that went through the Leadership Coffeyville program. We have great students at CCC. We have great students coming out of our high school. Where are they going? They're not staying here because we have not developed our community the way it needs to be. We have stuck in the past. Poor Coffeyville, we've had this issue, we've had that issue. That's the past, guys. We need to look at the future. And she has started it for us. Kendall's right. We may have several festivals coming to us saying, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? Ms. Still is right. That is a problem to have. That's what we want. We want festivals coming here. We want people to come into our community and say, hey, let's do this for our community. Instead of sitting on our thumbs going, how are we going to fix our community? This is a direction that we need to go. Now, is it the best direction? Who knows? But like Commissioner Wilson said, support it. You may not support it a full stint, but support it.
Right.
Get behind it, find how we can help her, and go for it. Because if we do that, we bring all these people in, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but you tried. We didn't just sit here and say, oh, poor Coffeyville, well, we can do this, but we can't do that. That's happened for how many years now? Right? Just like Commissioner Martin said, we've had all these things that we wanted to do that has not been accomplished. She started the ball. Now it's your job as the spearhead of our community to pick that ball up and run with it. Hope it works out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission?
No, I think we've pretty well discussed it.
So have I heard that you guys are willing to match up to $2,500?
That's what you heard from me.
That's what you heard from me.
I haven't heard $5,000, but I have heard $2,500 match.
Yeah. I make a motion that we support this.
Hold on, Chris. Let's take care of the big elephant in the room here. I'm not talking about the size. Nobody said anything. There's some question as to whether or not I can vote on this. I am personally going to receive no profit in any way from this event through any involvement of my wife. What I will receive from this is a good time downtown with hopefully all 5 of you, just as I've done every year at the Coffeyville Summer Celebration and every other event that this board in some way supports. If that's a profit, then I guess, you know, have a good time's a profit. But I'm not going to receive any monetary profit from this event. In no way.
Let's go to Paul.
Yes, sir.
Do you have an answer?
Well, you know, you get into the conflict of interest statutes, and if a person has a business, or if a spouse has an interest in a business, elected officials are not supposed to make contracts that would result in money going to that business. It's basically just a,
So my wife's business is not the host of this event?
no. So, I mean, if public funds were to find their way to your wife's business, that would essentially be making an indirect contribution.
She is just a person that had some names and numbers. I think Mrs. Steele is
Yeah.
gonna clear this up.
Yeah, I'd like to clarify that. The food and beverage will be handled by private entities. Lanning's, Dirty's, the food trucks, that is separate. Everything that we're doing for that day, other than, and the art classes, the woman doing the art classes will charge for those, okay, and that, she'll get that money. But everything else is voluntary, and so it shouldn't even be an issue. I don't even know how it got muddled up. But the food and beverage is nothing I'm handling. It's gonna be handled by people in that business, and that does include Crown Promotions or events and Lanning's and, you know, anybody, the restaurants we contact, that's their business. And from a woman's point of view, you know, I think that we need to honor the fact that there are a lot of businesses owned by women who are married to men who have interests. And I don't know what the legality is, but certainly I know I hold my business separate, and there's no conflict of interest. So I'm hoping that you understand that from a woman's point of view.
Thank you, Peggy.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Peggy.
So with that said, Paul,
I think that if this money is being given to an entity, not to Crown Productions or an interest, or a company in which your wife has an interest, it's okay for you to vote.
yeah, we're not, just has some numbers, that's it. We're not making any money off this.
That's, we're clear?
One
I mean,
last,
I guess you could say that anybody on this board, if their company or their spouse had any involvement in that festival in the way of a booth or anything, would that be the same?
I don't think so.
This town is so small, we could cross lines 3 times before we cross the street.
I think it's more if the public dollars are going to that individual or that company, as opposed to, you know, if we're talking about setting up a booth and selling food.
I guess, you know, I think there's support for it. My issue is there's been a lot of misinformation going around this week as to whether or not I have some kind of involvement here. And I have yet to been asked by anybody in this town. There's a lot of people that have information about me, but they haven't asked me. So, you know, if I don't need to vote, or I shouldn't, I won't. But if it's not illegal, I will.
Is there anything that we could earmark that money specifically for? I mean, we know that,
Okay, you speak for
The
citizen
money
council.
goes to the foundation.
no, I mean, like a specific expense. Do you know that it's gonna cost
We know
whatever
that
to
it's about-
get a band or
I think the
or
bottom line is around 13,700 that we're gonna use to make this thing happen. If we do more with marketing, it'll be up to 20,000, depends on what we do with social marketing. And if we have to hire a graphic artist, so there's a range. All of that money will be for the schedule that you saw, for the kinds of things that volunteers are running. So if you can market for marketing for the flood run, of course, that makes it very complex, and we can do it that way. But I think we're getting overly complicated.
Really?
I think I can. Megan Martin, 2211 West 3rd, owner of Crown Promotions, his wife. The only thing that Crown Promotions is really in charge of here is finding the music, and that will not come from any city sponsorship or donation. that money is coming from another source. It will not come from any of this money here. And I don't know what her plans are for this money, but it does not in any way involve Crown Promotions for this particular event. If that answers.
Can I ask a question, not of you, Megan, but I don't want to take like a vote, but are you okay with giving them 2,500?
I'm in favor of 2,500 match.
And so am I. Where's this money gonna come from? Where are we gonna get, out of what fund are we gonna take this?
Fund 180.
Pardon?
My recommendation is that we find the money out of Fund 180, which is the Economic Development Fund.
Okay, and Mr. Faulkner was up here earlier saying about the strategic reserve.
He's referring to what's commonly referred to as the one-time funds.
Okay, so, okay.
So I make a motion, so I'll make a motion that we need to do, or how do we do this?
The other thing is I think Commissioner Martin,
I'm listening.
that there's support for this.
Just so nobody's feelings is hurt and there's no more rash emails going around town, I'll abstain from this vote.
Thank you.
If they needed my phone number, I'd gladly give it to you.
That wasn't a vote. I make the motion that we support at 2,500.
I'll
It's
second the
half
motion.
matching funds.
I'll second.
And Commissioner Williams, you want that up to 2,500?
Yes.
With matching funds?
And that's matching funds from whoever, right? It doesn't make any difference who it comes from, just, she's got a supply, or Peggy's got a supply proof of support.
The motion was made by Commissioner Williams and seconded by Mayor Bauer to approve resolution number R-17-34 for adoption, and that would be providing funds to Peggy Steele up to $2,500, with that being matching funds for the Night Street Festival or Viva La Ville.
That's correct.
Commissioner Martin,
Abstain.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Mayor Bauer,
Aye.
Commissioner Castler,
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
No.
Moving on to discussion and action to approve a cereal malt beverage license for Crown Promotions. City Clerk Cindy Price will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, before we get started, I do want to introduce Amy Brinker. She's sitting next to me. She has been recently promoted to the Deputy City Clerk. She's been with the city for a year, and thought it would be good to have her come to a commission meeting and get the idea of what the city clerk duties are.
Welcome. Congratulations.
Okay, we done with that? We don't
No.
get to hear from her? What's going on?
Oh, she doesn't want to make a speech
Oh,
tomorrow.
she doesn't?
No.
Okay, so Deputy City Clerk,
Deputy City Clerk.
okay, tell us about it. I don't even know what it is. I mean, you're the city clerk.
Correct, and that's a position that most communities have. Several years ago, it was done away with. In the event that I was not able to be here, she would be able to assume that role, plus various other activities at the office.
I see, okay.
Give a backup now. Good.
Any other questions on that one?
No
Okay,
questions?
let's move on. And this
Can I
one
say one
is.
thing? Well,
I'm
we're
sorry.
glad you're here, Amy, thank you.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to working with you.
This is, we did receive an application from Crown Promotion, Megan Martin, for a cereal malt beverage license for special events. We don't have in the city provisions for the temporary license, so this would be a regular cereal malt beverage with consumption on premise, and she would use it for special events. Now, that would require her to come and ask approval for each of the events. This item is just solely to approve the cereal malt beverage license. We have done the background check, everything's good on that, and we recommend that she receive that license.
we have questions from the commission regarding this? I'll make a motion to approve. There's not a number on it, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Second that motion?
Was there a second? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It
Mark.
is.
Councilman.
Trying to figure out how to word it, but yeah.
Motion was made by Mayor Bauer and seconded by Commissioner Castler to approve a 2017 cereal malt beverage license for Crown Promotions. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Mayor Bauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Abstain.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Resolution number R-17-35, a resolution to authorize the sale and consumption of cereal malt beverage in a designated area at Walter Johnson on Saturday, September 16th, 2017, during a special event by Crown Promotions. City Clerk Cindy Price will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is the first special event that Megan is planning as Crown Promotions. As you indicated, it is for Saturday, September the 16th. It's a concert she's planning to be held north of the Walter Johnson Park Stadium in that fenced-in area. In your packet is a drawing that shows where the area is that she's planning the concert. Our city ordinance 465 states that no person shall drink or consume certain malt beverages upon public streets, parks, or elsewhere unless that has public access, unless there's a resolution adopted which exempts that particular area. So this resolution would allow the sale and the consumption of cereal malt beverage in that specified area on Saturday, September the 16th.
Do we,
Go ahead.
do we have police there for those kind of deals, or
And
normally? I mean,
Megan
that's-
is here, she can address
Okay.
Any security questions that you would have.
Okay.
And while she's coming up, we have made the Interstate Fair and Rodeo aware of this. That's during their window, so they're aware of this event out there.
That's just a few weeks after, isn't it?
There will be two sheriff reserves officers there, one situated right next to the trailers or the tents where we will sell the alcohol, and the other one will be up kind of at the front, kind of guarding the area that our people will be checking IDs as everyone comes in. If they want to drink, they have to get a band, and those people who check the IDs will be responsible for putting the bands on them directly, and the other reserve officer will be right there making sure that, you know, there's no issues or anything like that. So there will be security there, definitely.
This area isn't fenced in, is it?
It is.
It is fenced in?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
that's right, I see the gate, never mind, sorry.
No, you're good.
Actually, two gates.
Yeah,
Any other
so it's a secure
questions
area
that
for
I
the
can-
most part, kinda.
There is one area, I believe, on the far east side that
East
is
side.
unfenced along the levee.
Okay.
The last,
Yeah.
You're part of
Yeah.
JMLC.
on the last event that you had out there, I actually just parked my truck across the road that goes around behind. That way, if anybody was back there, they were clearly trying to sneak in. It's not something that we're unaware of, and, you know, it's on the radar. So if anybody's back there, they're back there, they shouldn't be, and they will be, you know, I'm not a cop, but I'll be making sure people don't
Sure.
act ignorant too, so.
Any other questions? Jim, do you have a question? Okay. We have a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve R-17-35 for adoption.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Castler and seconded by Mayor Bauer to approve resolution number R-17-35 for adoption. Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Mayor Bauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Abstain.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye. Resolution number R-17-36, a resolution to authorize the consumption of alcohol during a special event at the Coffeyville Public Library on September 30th, 2017. City Clerk Cindy Price will make comments.
There's another special event, September 30th, and this is Mystery at the Library that the library board is planning as a fundraiser. And they have applied to the state of Kansas for a liquor license. We don't issue the liquor license. Those are issued at the state. And the state requires a resolution approved by the commission in order for them to sell or consume alcohol at that event, because it is a public building. The city owns the library. And Katie is here, Katie Hill. There are members of the foundation board if you have any specific questions for them.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know that much about this deal, but is that good to have alcohol there? Katie, what do you think about that? I mean, this one's got me a little bit off guard. What's the event?
It's Mystery at the Library, and it is a fundraiser for the foundation.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
So you're
it's a
supporting it.
one-time fundraiser, Mystery at the Library. I don't know if you've heard of the murder mystery dinner parties where you go as a character, you solve the mystery. It's meant to be a fundraiser, so we're kind of hoping that a cash bar would bring in some extra funding that way. It is a ticketed event, and obviously you would have to be 21 in order to purchase a ticket, and we would follow any state laws.
Are there minors there around that?
No.
You know?
I mean, not for that particular evening, no.
Oh, okay.
The library would not be open during this
I
event.
got you. Good, thank you. That's all I have.
Any other questions? Nope.
I'll make a motion, I guess, unless wants to. Resolution 17-36.
Motion was made by Commissioner Castler and seconded by Commissioner Martin to approve resolution number R-17-36 for adoption. Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Mayor Bauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye. I already said it once.
Oh,
That's
Martin. Phew, no wonder you
Yeah,
looked at me
yeah,
funny.
okay.
Commissioner Martin, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right.
I've been requested to take a 5-minute break.
funds for the Viva La Ville celebration. I won't name the entity, and I won't name the amount because it's not my place, but I will tell you there's a third corporate sponsor for that celebration, and I'll let them make their own announcement that they have notified me that they're a third corporate sponsor that will help match those $2,500 funds.
Thank you.
And I guarantee you, I take this man for his word.
Yeah. Moving on to resolution number R-17-37, a resolution to execute a lease purchase agreement with Commercial Bank to finance the purchase of a fire truck. City Manager Kendall Francis will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, back in December, we brought this before you, and you approved to execute a lease purchase agreement for a fire truck with Commercial Bank. And as you know, we've been kind of waiting on a final word from FEMA in regards to our AFG grant program. And as of today, we still do not have a definite answer from them. However, the chassis is due to be delivered in June, which will trigger our first payment. And so we, but in December, the lease purchase agreement did not include $15,000, the $15,094.29 worth of loose equipment for the truck that we have determined it needs to be outfitted with so that it is up to ISO standards. So we're bringing this back tonight to reauthorize the lease purchase to include that additional $15,000 for the loose equipment.
Kendall,
Yes.
I'm gonna sound like Mr. Williams on this deal. Isn't there a fund somewhere that we have that we could pay for that instead of financing something else?
Well, there are the non-recurring funds, yes.
I mean, it seems to make sense to me. If we have the money, I'd rather do that than borrow money.
And again, this is, we're still hopeful that we will receive positive word from FEMA, that they'll come forward with the $428,000 grant. And as I indicated to you in an email Friday, that we had some positive movement. However, we've not seen the final result from that.
So if we get the grant, we just pay off the note.
We're paying off the note. The grant's for like $428,000, so we still do have, a small balance that would be required. And now these monies come from a portion of the sales tax that is dedicated to equipment replacement. So that's where these funds come from.
So approximately 80,000 would carry over, and then
Roughly.
kind of tools, loose equipment are we talking about?
There-
I mean, is it
there is the-
perishable tools that?
There is an invoice included with your
Okay.
packet.
Said, I was scrolling, maybe I just haven't got to it yet.
I didn't think you were reading this thing very good, Paul.
I know. I looked through it the other day, but,
I did see something about.
here it is. I see it.
Do you see
hammer
those?
or-
Yeah, like.
Something like a hammer or something?
Roof
Yeah, fire
hooks,
hooks.
I didn't
the
read the whole
shovels,
thing either.
different things like that.
See?
And when I say loose equipment, like literally hand tools and some things like that that are essential firefighting equipment.
Sure,
Tools you gotta have on the truck.
yeah.
Well, I'm okay either way. Finance it, don't finance it. I mean, I said this in the last day or two. I remember sitting through our budget 2 years ago, and we were going through there, cutting $25 here and $150 there, and $500 here. I mean, I leave it up to the city staff what we do for it. They're like staffing in. The city staff's looking at all of it, and I'll go with whatever you guys want to do. But I'm good with what the staff comes up with on that, as far as the dollars and cents.
Any other questions from the commission? So do we want to finance it, or do we want to pay for it?
And before you make a commitment to pay for it openly, I'd like to confer with Stephanie, who's gone at training, so we could come back with the exact numbers that would be in that fund and really what that would leave you with.
Right.
I think that we should just go with the staff's recommendation at this point, because we have to make this commitment so they can start building this thing. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah, like I said, the chassis will be provided to them here in the next couple of weeks, and that's what we agreed to them to trigger the first payment that would be due them.
I was doing nothing more than simply making sure we had Commissioner Martin's question covered, so.
Sure.
So, we have a motion to approve?
I'd make a motion to approve R-17-37.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Taylor and seconded by Commissioner Williams to approve resolution number R-17-37 for adoption. Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Mayor Bauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Resolution number R-17-38, a resolution to purchase 2 vehicles from Quality Motors for the Police Department. Police Chief Quinn Bromley will make comments.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. The Police Department's requesting the purchase of 2 new patrol vehicles to replace 2 current patrol vehicles that are there we go, that were outdated and no longer in service. Over the last several years, the Police Department has consistently budgeted and implemented a rotation plan for our frontline patrol vehicles. These vehicles are often used 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and incur more mileage and wear than other city vehicles. We generally request to replace 2 patrol vehicles each year based on fleet usage. However, it was previously determined that the fleet was in sufficient shape to sustain the replacement of only 1 vehicle for fiscal year 15 and 16. However, this year, we're at the point where we need to replace 2 vehicles. I spent a considerable amount of time trying to find us the best deal that I could. I did locate a couple of vehicles, and using some powers of influence, I was able to get Quality Motors to give us a really good price for 2 vehicles. Therefore, I'm requesting the purchase of 2 patrol vehicles from Quality Motors for the amount of $46,782, and that will include trade-in of the 2 existing patrol cars that we were taking offline. And I'm willing to answer any questions if you have any.
Does that cover everything on the car? I mean, will lights and everything, or is
No,
that?
that's just for the 2
the
cars.
afterwards? Okay.
Who does all the swapping over all the equipment?
It varies.
The company does, not us.
With the equipment that we currently have, the watch guard video, we've damaged equipment now. It's getting to the point where the technology's surpassing our ability to swap equipment in and out of cars.
All right.
So we have to have that professionally installed.
Any other questions?
No.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number R-17-38.
Second.
Thank you.
Motion was made by Mayor Bauer and seconded by Commissioner Martin to approve resolution number R-17-38 for adoption. Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Mayor Bauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Resolution number R-17-39, a resolution to execute an agreement with BG Consultants for engineering services for the Safe Routes to School Phase 1 grant. Engineering Superintendent Thomas Osborne will make comments.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. This is, of course, the Safe Routes to School grant that is put on by KDOT's Transportation Alternatives Division. We've been working with KDOT since we got news that we were awarded in April of 2016, the grant, going through all the process that KDOT requires. We're finally ready to actually select the consultant to help with the actual conceptual design master plan of sidewalks in this phase, or this Safe Routes to School Phase 1 grant is focusing around community elementary. The agreement is a not to exceed agreement of $14,000. BG, we're working with them on the Willow and 11th geometric improvement as well. They seem to be a very knowledgeable consulting group. They've done quite a few of these phase ones in the past, so staff recommends awarding the engineering for the Safe Routes to School grant to BG Consultants.
Questions or comments from the commission?
Oh, what do they do? I mean, tell us about engineering. What do they do?
They're to help just design the streetscapes and make sure we're ADA compliant, surveying any type of that process, complete process to design where the sidewalks are, and you say your ADA ramps, the best way to fit them into your streets. All that comes together. They'll also be working with a committee that I believe we are using the, I don't know, it's the school's site.
Site council?
I believe, yeah, site council. I couldn't remember the name of the council, but it's that group is kind of the committee that will be working with the consultant to kind of look at the school and see this is where we want to go with sidewalks and how they come together.
Ultimately, the end goal of this is to receive a grant from the Kansas Department of Transportation to install sidewalks near or around community elementary.
That is correct. They will actually help put together the phase 2, which is the Safe Routes to School construction grants. They'll help put that grant application together.
And then ultimately, what that does is it gives, like the grant says, safe route to school for kids to get to and from school walking on a sidewalk instead of in the street, because, well, pretty much with the exception of one road, everything west of Klein, there's not any sidewalks for them kids to get to school. So basically, you're either walking in a yard, in the street, or whatever. So it makes it dangerous for the children to get to school.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Any other questions?
I move that we approve resolution number R-17-39.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Williams and seconded by Commissioner Martin to approve resolution number R-17-39 for adoption. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Mayor Bauer.
Aye. Resolution number R-17-40, a resolution to execute a grant of easement agreement with South Kansas and Oklahoma Railroad for right-of-way at the 14th and Walnut intersection. Engineering Superintendent Thomas Osborne will make comments.
Thank you again, Mayor and Commissioners. Back when Amazon announced they're leaving, the governor came down, he gave us $1 million construction grant to redo the streets around Acme as an economic development for the Acme doing their expansion. In all the design work, we finally got that bid out. Part of the project is to widen the 14th and Willow intersection. It's where the SKOL has a line that cuts kind of diagonally across it. In order to widen that, we're going to take up and be on a little bit of the railroad right-of-way. This agreement, it just allows us to go in there and add that section of the intersection. Widening, Watco will actually be coming in and doing, or Watco, which is also SKOL, they will be coming in, their crews will be actually widening. I believe we're having to add 16 actual feet, so 2 panels of the rail panels to widen that intersection so that trucks can go in and turn southbound without going into oncoming traffic. You have to answer any questions?
What does the railroad get paid for that, or?
With the, part of the grant funding will go to help pay for the railroad's expansion of those 2 panels.
So towards their expense.
Okay. I have no questions. I'll make a motion to approve R-17-40.
Second. Go ahead. Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Taylor and seconded by Mayor Bauer to approve resolution number R-17-40 for adoption. Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Mayor Bauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Resolution number R-17-41, a resolution to authorize a final quantity change order to Jeff Graham Construction for the 2016 Wilshire Curb and Gutter Project. City Manager Kendall Francis will make comments.
Well, the comment I'm going to be is, take it
Megan
away,
Thomas
Thomas.
is gonna make it.
Thank you again, Mayor, Commissioners, and Kendall. This final quantity change order, basically with the construction's done, completed per plan. This is the final amounts of, we have asphalt taken off the tickets as they come in. We have found several curb drains that are just, that we didn't see in the initial counts. Those all had to be ordered and put in. And so this just brings the final quantities of all the concrete that was added, anything that was over the initial project plan quantities is what this change order covers. You have to answer any questions.
Did you miss those, Thomas?
Miss what?
Did you miss those curbs and gutters?
No, those were, the curb through there was in pretty bad shape. It was falling through. So it's the openings, we put in an actual cast box into the curb. So it's not just you take saw cut, put a pipe in. There's a cast opening there that's actually routed into the curb. Help to maintain those curbs. There ended up being, I believe, like 5 or 6 that we found while we were digging out the actual curbs that just walking down the street looking, we wouldn't find them.
So you're sure these are, so
Yes.
you're sure you're looking at it? So
Yeah.
A real extra?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
this just covers the plant measured, field measurements versus when you're going off of the plan and
Okay.
you have to dig out something or find something unexpected.
Guess it just kind of puts it into place how bad the street really was.
Yep.
Did you look at that, Kendall?
The final exact numbers? No. That's what I have staff for. But they're taking it off the actual tickets delivered. And not only are they looking at it, but the
Well, we
engineers are looking at those numbers as well,
We
too.
generally don't ask these questions, but
Yeah.
we just did tonight,
Yeah.
it's an extra, and,
Sure.
I'm sure Thomas is looking it over, I just wondered. Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission?
No, but I'll make a motion to approve R-17-41.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Taylor and seconded by Commissioner Williams to approve resolution number R-17-41 for adoption. Mayor Bauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas.
Next item on the agenda is discussion on naming city buildings. City Manager Kendall Francis will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, we had a request from a private citizen to be put on the agenda to discuss the possibility of naming the new emergency services building after a citizen. I guess just to start the discussion, it would be my recommendation that that's not something that we want to do. And there has been some examples of that occurring here in Coffeyville. The James Hyaska building would be the first one that comes to my mind. And of course, the private citizen visited. I asked them that they would visit with the commission and asked that you sponsor them to be on the agenda tonight. Having spoke with the family of the citizen who they wanted to name, put the name of that person on the building, and speaking with the family, it's not something that they would support. And I guess I don't know really how to direct this conversation. Max Williams is here. He's the one that has made the request, and you've agreed to put him on the agenda. And
Yep.
I would at least, I think you should let him speak and see what he has to say.
Come on up, Mr. Williams.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. First off, I'd like to thank you for letting me speak to you. And I didn't know about naming opportunities. I know the college, they've got 2 or 3 buildings named after, you know, people. Nellis Hall and Wilburton Hall or whatever it is. The school district has done it. They've got the Klotz Administration Building. They've got the Jerry Ham Building over here, and they've got the Virgil Horn Building. So the rest of the entities in town have done it. I know we've got ballparks and lakes named after people, and I just wondered about buildings.
Yep.
My suggestion was to name the new emergency center after Pud Clough. I mean, nobody, I hope I don't get emotional here. Nobody loved Coffeyville more than Pud Clough did. And he did a lot of things that people don't know about behind the scenes. And I know his family don't want this. They think it's too big an honor, but I think they're wrong. I think it needs to be there. So that's my suggestion. That's about all I got to say. I know you'd be setting a precedence, but so be it. What's wrong with that?
So the conversation or the topic is about naming rights and not necessarily just this one building with just this one name,
Well,
but
it's
it's
both.
an issue.
It's both. It's an issue.
It's both, right.
Yeah.
Well,
And I know they don't feel like, you know, and that's Pug. If Pug was here, he'd be giving me hell for suggestion there. They, you know, they don't think he did that great a thing, but I think he did, and I think other people ought to realize that he did too. I don't know if they know, for 40 years, he provided all the gasoline to mow the grass on, down at the Brown Mansion, and half of those 20 years, he helped mow it. And there's just untold other things the man's done. And I know he had a particular interest in the emergency building. I don't know if you remember when you had the groundbreaking, he came out. He couldn't hardly walk, but he wanted to come to it. He was always positive about everything in Coffeyville. And I just think it'd be great if you do that. If you don't, you don't. But that's my recommendation. Thank you. I appreciate you letting me talk.
Thank you.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you, Max.
You know, I will say that we do not have a policy in place for naming buildings. We do have one, a policy for renaming streets. Like I said, no one in this room, you know, loved Pug more than I did. And he was always a great supporter of mine. However, my personal feeling is that he doesn't have a direct connection to the police and fire, the emergency services, so to speak. You know, I'd love to work with some entity. You know, when he talked about the Brown Mansion or the Historical Society or something. You know, and I've had some conversations with them, and they don't really have policies in place to do that either. But I think there's probably some, you know, some other avenues we could explore. And while Max is here, I will throw out one. You know, Pug's memorial was to the Brown Mansion to fix the chimney. And then speaking with Chris Crane today, you know, they're still several $1,000s short of meeting the goal to fix the chimney. You know, maybe we consider holding a fundraiser in Pug's honor to help try to match that goal, because taking care of that building would be something that would be Pug's desire. It's my belief. And I don't know that he'd be crazy about having any statues erected to him, or, you know, or a plaque or anything. Yeah, he'd be mad at you. But to make certain that building and continue to survive and thrive.
Some kind of memorial for Pug in this town for everything he's done for this town.
Well, what about a park? What about North Park if we renamed it Coliff Park? I mean, there's a Cartwright Park over here. Why could we not have a Coliff Park?
And again, I'm just gonna say, it's just not, personally not, I don't think it's a good idea to just willy-nilly name things after people.
I mean, I don't think
There
a
are,
name is a name.
like I said, Pug has a tremendous supporter of Coffeyville, a champion of Coffeyville, but so are other people, and have been, and there will be others that come along. You know,
I'm not opposed to your idea or your idea.
Yeah.
I consider myself a friend of the Clough family. I'd like to talk to him before. I mean.
Yeah, I think we should table it and maybe have some discussion and get some feedback from the family themselves. Maybe next time they can come and provide some feedback if they were willing to do that. And, you know, because I don't want to upset anyone by naming something after them that their family didn't want them named after. And I understand your point, Max, totally understand it. And maybe there's a different avenue that we could, as the Brown, like you said, the Brown Mansion Foundation, maybe there's something along those lines, since he was a big advocate of the Browns Mansion, as you said, or Max said. Maybe there's something we can do there, and that would commemorate him, and that he was very close to, and for, like you said, 40 years out there providing gas and mowing for 20 of them, so.
City needs to do something to recognize him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that.
I'm in agreement with that. And I will have to say something, you know, just real quick. When you said something to me about it the other day, Max, I said, that sounds great, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking, I don't know if it's the police and fire. Maybe that building needs to be for somebody in, you know, that service,
Well, yeah,
in the blue or whatever, but.
no reason to know about it, it's something new that's coming along.
Right.
Yep.
Well, it's definitely something I want to do, you know.
Like I said, let's table it, we'll get some feedback, and we'll see where we go from there. How about that?
Okay.
Is that okay?
Appreciate it, guys, thank you.
Thank you, Max.
Thank
Moving on to the city manager's report.
Mayor, Commissioners, I'd like to start off, I'd like to invite Gene Ratzlaff to come up and speak. And just while he's doing that, I will take just a moment to, I want to thank the volunteers. Whoops.
All right, Jay.
Want to thank volunteers who came out and helped with the park cleanup a couple weekends ago. And it was, again, another successful event, and we got a lot done. I'll also make mention, kind of a little bit of a follow-up to that. One of the things that occurred was we started to install the handicap swings that were provided through donations. We had a $6,000 donation from CVR, and also a $6,000 donation from the Community Foundation, and the Leadership Coffeyville Class of 2009 put monies towards the purchase of those handicap swings. So we started to install those, and actually tomorrow we will have a presentation of that at 1:30 tomorrow at Feaster Park. The people that were there that donated that money will be there for a photo op. Gene, I'll go ahead and I'll just turn it over to you.
Okay. Sorry about my lack of multitasking a few minutes ago. Anyhow, Mayor, Commissioners, last week, the Electric Department received the first place award in the electric operations and reliability competition from MISO, Municipal Electric Operations of Oklahoma. We were recognized for having an average available index of 99.993% in 2016. This means that there was electricity flowing to our customers 99.993% of the time. That means all but 3.6 minutes, there was not electricity flowing on the average for everybody. We had 101 reported outages. The report shows that birds, animals, and snakes accounted for 27% of them. Overhead equipment failure caused 22% of them, and 19% were related to weather. Because of our aggressive tree trimming program, outages caused by trees were responsible for only 2%. Some years ago, it was much higher than that. We keep track of all of our outages by recording the time of the outage, the cause of the outage, and the duration in minutes. And then we look at how many customers are out and multiply those minutes by the number of customers. Training, staff development, funding for maintenance and tree trimming continue to result in excellent performance of our utility. MISO is a utility trade association representing cities in Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Arkansas. This is the 5th straight year of our CML receiving this award. And before I turned in the numbers, I was a little concerned because I thought they were really good, and that maybe we weren't quite that good. So Mike Shook and Don Onslager and I spent most of a day going through all our records for the whole year and looking at them. And one of the reasons we did quite well also was we had 101 outages and 49 of them were only one customer. So if we only have one customer out, that really makes your records look good. And the most we had out was about 25, and that was a storm we had in April last year. And a lot of those customers were out for a long time because we had so much damage, but it was still a small amount. So anyhow, this, I don't. This is our board.
Now, Gene, you talked about this before.
Yeah.
That we'd won this before.
Yeah, last 5 years.
Okay. Is our rate number better than that this year? Was it a better number?
Better than ever.
Okay.
I don't think we'll ever get it again.
Well, did you say that and I didn't hear you?
Huh?
Did you say that and I didn't hear you?
I don't know, but
Okay,
you
okay.
can hear me now.
Okay, okay. Fair question, huh? Well, that's quite a deal.
Yeah, it is.
You know,
It's nice.
Yep, very nice.
Great job.
that new power,
Congratulations.
that new power plant doesn't have anything, does that have anything to do with it?
No,
Not yet.
not yet. We've been operating all 4 units, steam plant and the other 3 units been operating the last several days. So,
You happy with the what cell generators?
yeah, it's working well. Yeah, get them up, and we usually start at low load, is what they usually ask us to come up to. We're usually up from the start to low load, it's about 5 minutes or 3 minutes sometimes.
That's awesome.
So that's
Nope.
pretty awesome.
No
You
problems with the new units?
You know, they're putting some of those in down there, oh, these are ours?
Yeah.
You know, they're putting some those in down Denton, Texas,
Right.
Dean.
Yeah.
You might have to come down and see them.
Okay. Yeah, they're getting pretty popular.
Thank you, Gene.
Just a few more items I want to cover. I know we've been here a little while. Street projects, 8th and Washita, that intersection has been completed and has been opened back up. Reed Street, we continue to work on repairing there at the underpass, and crews moved over to the east side today. So again, as you're moving through that area, be cautious because it's only one lane that's open. The Overlook Bridge, that has been completed and is open, if you've been out there. Now that we're kind of into the political season, I'll just make a mention that as far as political signs and yards, it's still not quite time that you can put them out. You 45 days before the election, so it's going to be roughly August, somewhere in there. I didn't get on a calendar and actually count the days, but you know, if they start appearing now, we are going to take them down and probably call you to come pick up your sign. And so just a heads up on that.
Anybody in violation, that's probably the responsibility of our new deputy city clerk, or what?
She doesn't have that much authority. So, building projects. The emergency services building continues to move along, progress nicely. We're on schedule. Obviously, you can see the truss is going up quite quickly in the sheeting. They're laying up cell blocks on the jail side at the same time, and finishing laying up the blocks on the fire bays. So, City Hall, again, it's moving along nicely as well. They've installed the in-floor plumbing, sewer and drains, and first floor. Plan to pour that new concrete next week, and also we'll start. They're going to be framing on second floor, so start laying out some walls and stuff on the second floor. CDBG grant. We had discussed this with you a couple of months ago, and we had decided that we were going to target 10th Street. This will be something similar to what occurred on 9th Street, probably minus the sidewalks, because that funding isn't available this year, or doesn't appear to be from a CDBG standpoint. But it's going to require that we do a door-to-door survey to make certain that we qualify for the LMI, the low to moderate income. We have to be at least 51% of the area served, of the people that live on it, not just people driving up and down it. So we, over the course of the next couple of weeks, staff will be going door to door with those surveys. So want to encourage, you know, if people come knocking on your door, not to be alarmed. And again, this is going to be in the 10th Street area, probably Camden to Hall is the area we're targeting. And so it is legitimate if someone comes knocking on your door requesting to help with the survey. So that'll be important for us to get that funding. We had Officer Twitchell tonight. He was sworn in, and we continue to be hiring police officers. We will be doing testing this weekend. Saturday we have another round of PD testing, so we continue to have openings. Just a quick reminder, the MAC, the Montgomery County Action Council annual meeting is Thursday night. It's going to be at MJD Products. If you haven't RSVP'd or you want to attend, you can either let me know or just call MAC directly to get on the list. And I was asked to make mention that just a note about the summer celebration, kind of as we were talking about celebrations tonight. That's going to be Saturday, July 8th. I don't see Gail here. He thought maybe that he might be here to just kind of promote that a little bit, but it looks to be bigger and better than it was last year, so that's good news. And then just finally, I would say immediately following adjournment of this meeting, we're going to convene the Coffeyville Community Enhancement Foundation, and then we're going to handle some business associated with the Trails grant. So I would entertain any questions you'd have.
No questions.
Oh, I got a question. I don't know if it's for you or not. Anybody else got any for?
I just had one question. When are we gonna start up our street
ceiling?
Again?
Donaldson will be here, I think next week. They're scheduled to be here to review with staff the streets that we intend to seal, and then we'll have to make some cut downs as determined by budget, budget constrictions. But the actual work typically, I think, and Thomas, correct me if I'm wrong, but September, late September, early October timeframe. But they will be here, like I said, next week as we start to put the scope of the project together.
Okay.
As far as the political campaign coming up for commissioners, I remember going through that process. Who kind of takes charge, or who? They had some public meetings where we got to talk to people. How does that work? I forgot who ran that.
Well, I wasn't here the last time when you had that, but
we met out Bricktown and had a few interviews.
Chamber of Commerce.
Typically, sometimes does that, or if there's, well, and these aren't really partisan politics, so I don't know that any of the local Republican or Democratic conventions would take place in that, but the chamber might. But I would not want to speak for Candy.
I think anybody can hold one of those if they chose to. You can hold one. I'll come to it.
Well, can you check? I mean, is that okay for you to check, Ken?
Well, I can reach out to the chamber and see if they have.
I'd like to start
plans
talking
to do
about it a little bit just to help them.
So.
It's our city, it's our deal.
Right.
And I'd like to talk about a little bit to help those people.
Okay. The radio station may be an entity that would be looking at, or the newspaper.
Is
Some
there conflict
some
for
different outfits.
Our city manager?
I can ask questions.
Yeah. There's a conflict.
I will not be. I will not be leading any kind of political debate.
Right. Well, I'd just like to get something going on. Wait till the last minute,
Sure.
We've got plenty of time, but it's just something to think about and talk about. I haven't been through the process on this side of it, I guess, and I just thought we'd talk about it for once in a while. We've got some of our newsworthy commentators or news people here, and those guys need to all get together and see what they can put together, but I'd like to see something done on it, I don't know. Like we did out the Bricktown once, I think we did it twice, actually, I can't remember, I know we did it once. Anyway, thank you.
Good. Any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Right now, I got some comments for later. Wait for that.
We'll move on to comments from the public. The public is free to comment on items not listed on the agenda. Please address comments to the commission as a body and be mindful of others who may also wish to speak by limiting your comments to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jim Faulkner, 1014 West 3rd. First of all, I want to thank the city for their continued partnership and support of the Boys and Girls Club, and we appreciate that. Major activities throughout the year, Shop with a Cop to be one of them. And then also a shout out to our Executive Director, Griffin Walker, and his staff, which does include Commissioner Kessler, and their efforts. Starting the summer session, we had over 200 kids show up, so that was a significant effort there. Last two items, ultimately, as I and you are painfully aware, ultimately boil down to people, time, and money. First item is brush and tree limb cleanup around the city after the storm season. If you can drive around town, there's a lot of limbs down in yards. A lot of these are in the yards of some of our elderly citizens who either can't pick them up or folks that don't have access to a pickup truck to get it to the dump. I would just recommend that after the storm season is over, city go around, take a survey where the brush is, where it's piled up, and then clean it up, get rid of it, because if we've got visitors coming into the city, that's a bit of an eyesore. And then that could also be included, I believe it is that's still included just as part of the regular city cleanup. So, but just an additional, in addition, after the storm season is over. Last item, I think our city manager was painfully aware of this one. He was getting attaboys and then heat mail at the same time, and that was the cemetery. Its appearance on Memorial Day. There were some areas that looked really good, and there were some areas that looked really bad. And I know it was an issue of staff and availability. It had also rained, and the ground in some areas was wet, and they couldn't get to it. But just a recommendation in the future: try and if at all possible, plan ahead. If you have to put on some additional part-time staff to make sure that the cemetery is mowed completely, weather permitting, because we do have a lot of people coming in from out of town to decorate family graves. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, James. It's been an issue the last couple of years, a little bit. We do need to work on it. It's a tough one sometimes.
Yeah,
for all those reasons.
It's tough, and then people are decorating graves also early, and so it makes it even more difficult to mow around. Not making excuses, just
Yes.
there's a lot of things that happen.
Yes, sir, Bob.
Yes, thank you. Sorry about the shirt, by the way. I had to
No big deal.
take a
Tell us
flywheel
your
and a
name
wheel
and-
bearing. I'm Bo Rupert. I live at 1309 West 12th. And one of the things I wanted to talk about with the commission tonight, I've already reached out to several of you. I spoke with Chris Williams yesterday. I spoke with you as well, Mayor. I look forward to speaking to Justin Martin and Marcus Castler if they will be willing to meet with me. We have a problem in this community that really isn't getting addressed, and it's been pretty much unaddressed for decades, and that is at-risk and troubled youth. You know, there's a lot of kids between the ages of 14 to 17 years old that if we don't intervene now and try to steer them on the right path, they're going to end up in our state prison system. And, you know, I think that it'd be a great idea to come to the table with a lot of you and see what kind of programs and activities we can put on that are specifically for at-risk youth. You know, I brought up with Quinn Bromley a little bit ago, maybe doing a mentor program with the police department. He says he already has one, but, you know, also doing a business partnership with some of the local businesses that would be allowed, or that would, you know, entertain the idea of having the at-risk youth and troubled teens come down there for employment purposes and things like that. You know, maybe give them a tax cut, because dealing with at-risk youth isn't easy. I applied for the Juvenile Corrections Board and the Community Corrections Board, And I do ask that you guys keep me in mind as a serious applicant. You know, being a formerly incarcerated youth myself, I think there's a lot I can bring to the table on that issue. And I understand the needs and the challenges and the struggles that at-risk youth go through than the average person does. So, you know, I think that, you know, there's been a lot of talk about youth and young people here tonight, but I haven't heard any talk about troubled youth or the youth in this community that, I mean, they're destined for a terrible adult life if we don't try to get in there and help them right away. So that's all I got.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Was your idea a couple of weeks ago about cleaning up Coffeyville have anything to do with kids like that?
Yes.
Sound like Mr. Faulkner and you might need to talk. You're wanting to help clean up the town, might be something good to talk about.
So, if I
Well,
could,
you know,
They do go hand in hand, I mean, in a
yeah,
sense.
it's, you know, Bo's really reaching out. I've got to know Bo. We talked about Bo last week. You know, he's trying to get involved in stuff like this, and he speaks well about it. When we were up to see Jerry Moran, there was a discussion with Bo and him for up 10 minutes probably about something along this juvenile line, and we won't get into the whole thing, but I'll just say that if Bo wants to get involved in some of these things to help, and we appreciate you coming forward, and we do want to hear about it, and maybe something will come of it. I know you want to put your energy into it. Thank you, Bo.
even if we save one or two of these kids from the prison system, I think all that work is worth it. That's just me, though.
Thank you, Bo. We'll work on things. We'll work on things.
Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll move on to comments from commissioners and staff. First up.
I have some, but if you guys are ready for them.
All right, I got some, but I can wait.
First one I've been hearing a lot about is dog at large problems. I realize we only have one dog catcher. I don't know what our finances are in the future, but we used to have a part-time one. I know it's hard for one man to control. I'd like to see a solution. I don't know if we can change his hours a little bit to see, because they tend to run a little bit more at night maybe. I don't know, but they tend to be getting people's garbage cans and stuff like that, and it's causing problems. I've heard of ones going after kids. I know it has debated a long time ago about certain type of dogs, but that's not the problem. It's just, I don't know if leash laws aren't being enacted or taken care of, or what. Once again, I do understand we have one, but I'd like to find some solutions for that.
Okay.
The second thing is there are some issues at the youth activity center that need taken care of. I'll talk to you later about that. So that's it.
Commissioner Martin?
So, here lately, last month and a half, we've had a lady's come here and complained about, how her stuff was took off the porch. So, other people have been hitting me up about the way we do business as far as code enforcement. And I'm not saying that our code enforcement lady's doing a bad job. That's not what I'm here to talk about. What I got to thinking about, rode around town and looked at city-owned property. I would probably suspect that we are in violation of our own ordinance. The city-owned parking lot behind the Lanning's pool hall down there has, grass growing up in it. There are 8 to 10 trash dumpsters that we don't own. I don't know whose they are. They're just thrown around all over the place. It looks rather appealing when you roll into town. The parking lot across the street here has weeds that are 1 to 2 foot high across the street. The shell pit that we own has a fence that is slowly decaying into it. I don't know how long it's been there. And about probably a year ago, this commission, and I'm going to take full responsibility, went after a man on Woodland for having a fence that wasn't a fence. And the city has created a fence out of cut out pieces of highway with asphalt on it and piled it up down there. That is our fence. That is not fence property, fence material. It's even, I mean, it doesn't meet our code. So what are we gonna do here? Are we gonna set the example, or are we gonna give ourselves a fine? Because we are breaking our own ordinances.
Well, we need to hold ourselves accountable for the same, whatever we would hold the normal citizens to. Now, I guess you kind of lost me on the fence material that's not
Well, you
fence
go down to the
material.
shell pit, I brought this up probably about 2 years ago, how there was nothing impeding somebody if they wanted to commit hara-kiri and go off in that shell pit. And so the solution at the time, and I just got tired arguing about it, the solution at the time was we cut out some chunks of concrete from apparently the highway, and we stacked them up down there.
As a barricade.
It's a complete eyesore. Your dad's stuff looks better than what we got going on. Yeah, I knew you'd like it. And the traditional fence that's along the highway is now starting to lean over. There are trees that are growing wild. There's 10 to 15 foot tall, I don't know what you call it, trees, grass. It's blight. People come into our town, that's what they see. We're crumbling away into the shell pit, and our solution is to stack up, basically, it's road jump. I mean, we dug it out of the ground, we stacked it up. It is not fence. I looked up the definition of fence while we're sitting here, and that is not traditional fence material. We had this conversation before. So we are in violation of our own code. Oh, make a note, hold on, there was one more. The old Walmart building, city-owned property. There's glass broke. You can get into the building. You can climb the fence inside once you get in and be inside there. Well, who knows what's going on in there? I got a feeling it's against ordinance to have a commercial building with broken glass.
Which one?
The old Walmart.
Sunflower Walmart.
I mean, we're a walking violation. We ought to have our own self. Go ahead, Chris.
Two things. Same topic. We budgeted funding to demolish the former Walmart building, and the one that I'm talking about is the one at 8th and Northeast on the east side, there by Save-A-Lot. That was started. They fenced the perimeter off to get ready to do their demolition, and then we were approached by a company that said they may be interested in that building, and they signed basically we signed a stay of execution for that building for 6 months. Was it 6 or 3?
It was 6.
Okay, it was 6 months. After that 6-month time span had expired, then we entered into another agreement to extend that time for another 3
6
months?
months.
6 months? Okay. Where are we at, first question, where are we at on that second 6 months period?
Off the top of my head, I can't give you that answer. I can get it for you. The clock is ticking, it's ticking down on that
My
pretty
second
rapidly.
question is, we still retain the funding.
Yes.
My third question is, are we any closer to having something done with that building today as we were the day that we took the fence down?
Honestly, no.
When are we prepared to do what we need to do?
Maybe we'll lease the building to somebody.
We made a decision,
I'd be in support of go ahead and knock it down.
we made a decision as a commission, and we addressed that concern back at that time, and
So we're gonna spend the 50,000 versus leasing it to somebody?
here's my second question. Is that piece of property more marketable as a piece of land versus a piece of land with a building on it that is going to take 50,000, as he says, to destroy that building?
I guess I can't give you.
Before you
I
can
can't-
even consider putting something on that piece of property?
Probably can't give you a clear answer as to the value of it. I mean,
Is it easier to market a piece of land on the highway that's a piece of land versus a piece of land that's got a $50,000 bill attached to
Well,
it?
there's always a chance somebody's gonna come on and want the building. you know.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a toss-up. You know, I don't know all the intricacies of redevelopment. The Jared Development felt confident that they could fill that building and redevelop it. It hasn't panned out. They have focused their efforts more on to the Coffeyville Plaza.
Because they actually purchased that piece of property after they agreed to do something with that.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the companies, the businesses that have went in there, because of their economics or however they choose to do business, redevelopment isn't in their, you know, portfolio. They want to go into build to suit type things. Yes.
I think you could lease the building, Chris.
Yeah, but how long did the new old Walmart take to lease and find somebody? You know, I mean, do you really want that long there?
We had this conversation year and a half ago or whatever it was, and I'm really just ready to move on. We already had this discussion and made a decision. I'd like to just go ahead and implement
Well,
what we
and
decided.
it was made clear to Jared Development that they were, because of the work that they had done, Coffeyville Plaza, and the successes that they've had, that we were willing to give them an extension, but it was going to be the one extension, and we were going to move on from there. They've also indicated to us that if we had someone that was interested in the land or in the property, that they'd be willing to step aside from their LOI, and they didn't want to stand in our way of being able to develop that. We haven't really had someone step up and say, yes, we want that piece of property, or it could be beneficial. We've had some interest, and we continue to have some interest in the East Coffeyville development area, not specifically that site, but in that region. So
I think that's the question that I don't want to ask for Chris, but do we have anyone that's interested in the building? And if we don't, do we pursue
the short answer is
renting
no.
it out?
You know,
And making buy it or to lease it?
To lease it or to buy it.
You know, my
for that
recommendation would be that, you know, once the LOI runs out, you tear down the building. If they haven't come through, you know,
You've had people that wanted to lease it.
you know, I can
Not in the
get
last
you
year.
get you the
Yeah,
date.
you've got a standing offer to lease that building. I've talked to them about it. There's a company who wants to lease the building.
I have never been approached by a company to lease the building.
Yeah, I talked to Cindy about it.
Well, like I said, I have never
I
been
talked to
talked
Cindy
to.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been looked over, started on the roof, looked at it with the city employees. You know, if you want to knock it down, you know, but there are people that would want to lease that building, if you're interested.
Right. I guess my concern is when does it become a liability? Because it's getting to the point that it's probably becoming a liability with the broken windows, people breaking in, you know, fair and rodeo coming around. It could potentially be,
I'm pretty
have
sure
people.
you can enter the building now if you really, really
Yeah, you
want.
came from the back door because it's wide open.
Oh, didn't know that.
Well, last time I drove to El Poblito's from the back side, you could enter through the back door, it was wide open.
And if you had it leased, they would have supplied liability insurance. City wouldn't have to worry about it. Somebody come along 3 or 4 years later, want to buy the building, they'd buy the building.
Sorry, I think I jumped in on Commissioner Williams and I
No,
let him finish his
I'm
thought.
avoiding a confrontation. So I'm
Okay.
good to go.
Can we just get the information, like, next meeting when that agreement runs out?
And actually, if it loads, I might be able to give it to you right now.
Do we have any other comments from the commission in the meantime?
I don't. But other than the things that Commissioner Martin addressed, those are obvious. Those are obvious things our city manager can drive around town and look at. Can you have those things addressed?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Commissioner Taylor, you have something?
Yeah, you put a report together for Taylor Crane Services. I had a conversation with Kendall about it. And, you know, this is just about Taylor Crane Services. This You guys saw it, did you? You guys see it? What did you want to speak about it real briefly? I mean, I have a point to make.
Okay. Well,
about it.
at the last meeting, you had asked that I would try to research some of their previous work that was provided by Taylor Crane and try to ascertain a cost savings. I thought the best way to approach this was to provide you with companies that perform like services and the rates at which they would do that. And we use Taylor Crane and rigging for mechanical services and some crane operation. Most of the mechanical service is provided to the fire department. As you will see, it shows what the hourly rate for a mechanic for Taylor Crane is and any mileage that would be associated with that. And then we've spoken to area fire departments to see where they take their equipment. And that's where the other four are listed. That's how we came up with those. We contacted them, got their hourly rates, what mileage is charged for that. So obviously, if you extrapolate that out, the next lowest hourly rate is $10 an hour higher. So if they did 100 hours worth of work, we saved $1,000. The 50-ton crane with an operator was the last thing that we used. Taylor Crane for actual heavy haul, and that was work that was done at the industrial park, the John Deere moving transformers. Taylor Crane charges an hourly rate with an operator of $200 and a 5% fuel charge, and you compare that to Bennett Steel, who is the same hourly rate, but they told me that to bring a crane up here, it's $1,500 one way. So we have a $3,000 trip charge just to get them here. That's was the simplest way that I could think of to try to give you some of the information per Commissioner Taylor's request.
I don't want to make a big deal out of it. We want to try to help do business with local businesses. And I already had this conversation with you, Kendall.
Right.
And local businesses supply a great service for a community, whether it's a company A or company B, and we need to try to do that. And as some of you guys know, it gets under my skin a little bit when it's questioned. And I think this kind of shows it, and I appreciate you putting it together. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Other questions from the commission? I was asked to take a 10-minute executive session with non-elected personnel and Mr. Kreitz. We will meet at 10 minutes till and be done at 9
Can we make
o'clock.
it 15 minutes?
We will start at 10 minutes till and finish at 5 minutes after 9.
Who made the motion?
I make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks, sir. No problem. Thank you. Well, we won't.
Time goes by.
Oh, absolutely.
Forget things.